Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to my channel. So with AMD's 5000 series right around the corner, should you really upgrade your motherboard? Well, let's find out in today's video. But before that, I want to remind you all to hit that red subscribe button down there along with the notification bell so you do not miss out on any future upcoming tech content. Without any further ado, let's begin. Now, according to the rumors and leaks, the 5000 series has a very high TDP compared to that of the 3000 series, and I'm talking upwards of 150 to 180 watts, but the performance makes up for it. Now for the question, should you upgrade your motherboard, and should you really get expensive motherboards over the cheap motherboards? Now, with the TDP so high, you would want a more robust VRM than what you currently have for the 3000 series. Now let me give you some examples. Say you're running a Ryzen 5 in a B450 Tomahawk or something like a B450 RS Elite. Now these boards are perfectly fine for a Ryzen 5, but they wouldn't hold up for something like a 5800X or the 5900X, the upcoming 5000 series CPUs, especially because of the higher TDP. Your VRMs are going to get extremely hot, and it can also sometimes cause failure, which we really do not want. Now, if you're running something like a Ryzen 7 or a Ryzen 9 on a B550 Tomahawk, an X570 Tomahawk, or even a B550 ROG Strix motherboard, then you can easily drop in the 5000 series in there and you'll be perfectly fine. You'll have no problems. Now for the title of the video. Should you really get expensive motherboards over the cheap motherboards? And that really depends on your priorities. Now, you get a lot of extra features from expensive motherboards, especially if you're a content creator. It can really benefit you, and I'm going to be talking about all the extra features that you can get with some of these expensive motherboards, costing upwards of $600 to $700. Now the first thing is that you can get more NVMe M.2 slots in your motherboard, so you can fit more and more of these. Some motherboards also come with a PCIe card that can fit multiple of these NVMe drives, which you can then run in RAID 0 or RAID 1, and you have extremely crazy speeds, which is very useful for productivity purposes and can make your workflow very quick. Now the second feature is better VRMs. Now these VRMs are very high quality and can almost support any processor out there, no matter the TDP. Now these VRMs are also made for overclocking, so if you're an enthusiast like me, then you can easily overclock your your CPUs to crazy speeds without frying the VRMs. Now, a very special feature that the Asus top-end motherboards come with is something known as DIMM.2. Now, this DIMM.2 is a RAM-like module where you can put in 2 SSDs and it plugs in directly beside your RAM. Now, this can help if you have a water-cooled system. You would not need to drain your loop if you want to change out your SSD or see what happened to it. Now, another really cool feature that you get is 10 gigabit networking. Now, 10 gigabit networking might not seem that useful to normal people, but people who have who edit off of a server or even have some NAS storage, then it can really help because you can transfer files between the PC and the server very quickly. Now, another enthusiast level feature that you get in these expensive motherboards is overclocking, better overclocking support. And for that, you get a lot of good quality components. Let me go through some of them. First of all, you get a better PCB, which is more robust and is able to handle more heat than what the mainstream motherboards offer. That's not to say the mainstream motherboards are bad, it's just that these motherboards can handle more extreme harsh heat and other conditions. And the next feature is dual BIOS. Now, if you overclock your CPU a lot and if you brick your BIOS, then there's not a problem. You have dual BIOS, which means the backup BIOS is going to kick in and nothing will happen to your motherboard. And that is a very useful feature, and you'll only notice it if you actually run into those kind of problems. Now, another really cool feature is the clear CMOS button and the BIOS flashback. Clear CMOS basically clears the CMOS when you hit it, and it's a physical button, while in mainstream normal motherboards, you will have to remove the CMOS battery and plug it back in again manually. But while with these motherboards, you can easily hit the clear CMOS button and you'll be done and dusted. Now, the BIOS flashback button is also very useful for flashing quick and easy updated BIOS. Now these B450 motherboards cannot support 5000 series out of the box, so these BIOS flashbacks can really help. Now, what this BIOS flashback feature does is that when you hit the button, you need to plug in a pen drive with the new BIOS in it. Now, when you plug the pen drive in and hit the BIOS flashback button, it is going to automatically update the BIOS without you requiring a CPU, which actually supports B450 out of the box. Now, another really cool button is the surface mounted power button. Now, in mainstream motherboards, if you're overclocking, of course you'll need to shut down the system, restart it multiple times, and you'll most likely keep it in a test bench, especially if you're an enthusiast. Now, benches don't have a power button like actual cases, so people often take a screwdriver and short the pins, which actually plug in to the case's power button. But with these expensive motherboards, you have a surface mounted power button, which can be really useful. You will not have to get your screwdriver out every time shorting the pins. All you have to do is hit that button and you can restart it or shut it down or even start it up again. Now, another really cool feature is the post code that is displayed on the motherboard with a display. Now, this feature is useful for troubleshooting because if you run into some problems or your system isn't posting, then you can get these post codes that are displayed and you can search those post codes up on Google and you'll easily get the solution to them, which is very, very useful if you ask me. Now, those were some of the niche features that are given by expensive motherboards, especially for PC enthusiasts who love to overclock in LN2 or even normal custom water cooling. Now, another reason that you need to buy these expensive motherboards is, of course, aesthetics and quality. Now, aesthetics meaning you get a lot of RGB on these boards and you have a lot of armor on top of the PCB, so it looks very clean. Now, aesthetics, that if it really doesn't matter to you, then you really shouldn't get these expensive motherboards just for the aesthetics. You need to consider the features that I told you at a previous part in the video before making your purchase. Now, another thing is quality. As I said, the PCB's quality is extremely good compared to that of the mainstream offerings, and also the VRMs or even all the components used in that motherboard are of extremely high quality compared to that of the mainstream motherboards. You also get way more fan headers than you do with the mainstream motherboards, and this can help if you're custom water cooling, because if you have, say, 3 or 4 radiators in something like a huge case-lapse case, then you can easily connect all those fans directly to your motherboard. Now, another reason you should get these motherboards is because the companies that make these very high quality, high-end motherboards actually reserve the best technologies and best features that they have to offer for these special, really expensive motherboards. And that can help because if a company has a flagship technology, they can implement it on this motherboard and you can take good use of it. There is one con to this, which is less support from the community. Now, if you're getting an expensive motherboard, many people won't be doing that, especially because it is very expensive. As I said, upwards of $700, and $700 can actually get you a decent PC on its own. So there is not a lot of people who are going to be getting these motherboards, and if you have any problems with them, it is very less likely that you'll get an answer from a community like Reddit or Quora, or even some forums like Tom's Hardware, and you really wouldn't get any answers. You're very less likely to get them because many people actually don't buy these very niche motherboards. Now, after considering all of the features that I just told you, you can make your decision on whether you really need these motherboards and make a smart purchase, because if you just go with a mainstream offering, then you can save hundreds of dollars, and I'm talking upwards of $500, because as I said, these motherboards can go upwards of $800 or even $1,000 like the ASRock motherboards. Now, if you go with a more mainstream offering, you can easily get away by just spending about $150 to $180 for the maximum. So you should really weigh the pros and cons, and it might be really useful to you. The features that I told you previously, if they're really useful to you, then you can justify that huge price you're paying. Anyways, now I hope that helped you answer your question. If you have to get expensive motherboards, please comment down below what kind of motherboards you will get, expensive ones or the very cheap ones or the mid-range ones. Please comment down below. I'd be loving to hear all your responses. Now that pretty much wraps it up for this video. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because more awesome PC tech content is coming your way. And as always, it's Nikhil signing out from Nikhil Talks Tech, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.